and parent providers, we love helping the families. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about helping families, helping the kids, and just making sure everybody feels valued and has a safe place to go and, just a great place to be.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry expert and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my amazing, growing co-host, Nathan Palmer.
Brad, I literally wouldn't want to be sat next to anyone else besides you and our wonderful guest.
Yes, and today we have Rebecca Waters. Thank you for being here, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Rebecca, she is the founder of Watch Me Grow Therapy and a occupational therapist.
Yes.
And nearly for over a decade. Is that correct? How long have you been an occupational therapist?
So I'm not practicing anymore. I stopped practicing in 2019 because that's when I started creating my company, and it was just too much to manage both. So license is no longer active, full business owner.
Gotcha. But I heard that when you start a new business, you wear multiple hats.
Well, I tried it for a while and it just couldn't work. But yes, I practiced for about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here in Arizona Okay. And now you also, I see that you're passionate about helping children. That's why we love you.
Yep.
And you do a great job.
Thank you.
Reaching their fullest potential while supporting families and caregivers. Outside of work, I've heard that you enjoy kayaking.
Oh, you must have read the bio on my website.
Was that AI generated, or do you really kayak?
No, I really do kayak.
Okay.
Yep, I love to hike, anything outdoors. I have a Jeep. We take it off-roading.
Okay,
Yeah.
now hang on. There's a pattern, and maybe it's just me, but it seems like every OT I meet is like not a naturalist, but like they are a nature advocate.
No, we call them the hippies
Yes,
of ABA.
you're the hippies of ABA.
Really?
Yeah, well, the hippies of autism, if not.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that can
is
make
true.
sense. I don't know why that is, but yeah.
It's just a very grounded approach to autism care, I guess, is the way I
Well,
put
it's
it.
funny
Yeah.
because you talk to a BCBA, they want all the kids to be in their element, their room. They want to be able to control and analyze behavior. You talk to an OT, they're out
And
in
we're
nature.
outside.
We're
Yes.
taking off our shoes.
Yes.
We're kayaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Being outdoors.
Well, we love it. The hippies of ABA therapy. Love it.
So now what drew you to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the intro, Brad. Is there more?
No, that was it. Just the beach. You like to go to the beach a lot, it looks
Yep,
like.
love to travel.
Any particular beach you enjoy more than the other?
I love St. Thomas, St. John's, Virgin Islands.
Oh, the expensive beaches.
Yes. Those
Yes.
are nice.
Yeah, okay.
Love those ones. Yes.
Not so much a hippie, but yeah, because they can't afford it, but that's still outsider.
But you're still taking your shoes off and you're still running in the sand. And then you're a proud mother of two children and you have a grandson.
So 2 adult kids. My son is 28. My daughter will be 25 next month. But I now have 2.5 grandkids. So I have Jet, who's 4, Wade, who just turned 1 on Halloween.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
another one in the oven due February 28th. Another boy.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
A house full of boys. There we
Yeah.
go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Every time I see like new boys, I'm like, all right, what football team can we put you there?
They went
Put you with-
4 boys. 4 boys.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Because autism has opened me to a world of people that I think are just a different caliber. What brought you into the world of autism, especially into the world of OT specifically?
Have I ever told you my story?
No, it's
No.
why I'm
That's why we
asking
have-
now.
Do you have my logo pulled up?
We'll put up on the podcast, but I don't have
So
it
my
here.
logo is a little girl with red hair, and you can kind of see by the way she's standing, she has CP, cerebral palsy. So when, I don't even know, I'll just say 20 years ago, when my daughter started kindergarten, I was a stay-at-home mom because my son at that point was probably in 4th grade. And I called the local school district, which was Florence. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I just want something that's on a school schedule because I still have young kids, but I want to interact with adults. I've been at home for however many years. And they were like, well, we have this legally blind kindergartner who needs a one-on-one. And I was like, I have a 5-year-old. I'm good with kids. I'll try it. So first day of school, I'm in the classroom and in comes this little redhead girl with CP. And she's got like one-eyed looking at me. She's like, are you my teacher? And I'm like, well, I'm not your teacher, but I'm your parapro. And she's like, okay. And so she would have an OT that would come in throughout that school year. And I'd never heard of an occupational therapist at that time. I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm an OT. And I'm like, I'm so intrigued with how you're playing with her. Like it was, functional skills through play with, her handwriting and everything she was doing. Well, I stayed with her name is Cameron, is the little girl. I stayed with her for 2 years, kindergarten and first grade. And then I went to school to be an OT because of that little 5-year-old.
Oh, wow.
She is now my logo.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when I was creating my business and my company logo, I said to my husband, I'm like, I need a logo. And he's like, well, you got to use Cameron. She's the only reason that you are doing what you
So you
have
kept
done.
talking about her as you're getting
Oh, I
ready
still
to...
know her to this day. She actually just graduated from Grand Canyon University with a degree in psychology.
That is
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So
And
that's my logo, and that's how I got started.
well, that's what's amazing about you,
Yeah.
Rebecca. Like, you don't just help to help. Like, you are involved with these kiddos' lives from start to even now. That is incredible. Well, way to go.
Thank you.
I love that.
Thanks.
I love that story. So then it sounds like what was her name again?
Cameron.
Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
So Cameron helped you kind of get into the occupational therapy
Yes.
industry in the
Yep.
world and working with so many kids.
Yep.
What made you tell us a little bit more about Watch Me Grow and how did
Sure.
that transition
Yep.
from now
So-
you're helping one child, multiple childs, now you're building a business?
So when I was practicing as an OT, I slowly made my way up to where I was the assistant director of a large therapy company to a therapy director of a large company. It was November of 2019, sorry, November of 2019. I was let go of that position. I can tell you the story if you want to know the
we
whole
don't need
story.
to go into those details.
Okay. I chose to no longer be in that position. And so I sat in the parking lot and I was like, that was my world, was helping these families and helping these kids and therapists. And just, I loved going to work every single day. And I sat in my car and I was like, I think the next step is to open up my own. Like, I don't want to go work for somebody else. I know how people should be treated. And I think I just want to do this. So I called my parents and I'm like, hey, I think I want to open up my own company. And I'm like, can I borrow some money? And they're like, sure. Then I hired a business consultant to help me with my contract. And by March of 2020, when COVID hit, I was ready to go.
Wow. So when you were, which is like another great time to open up a business to do one-on-one therapy.
So in this industry, the kids are considered medical necessary.
Okay.
So
Yes.
we did not stop services. We
Good.
still provided. Obviously, there were, the COVID restrictions, and we left it up to the parents and the therapists of how they were going to make that 1-hour session work to be safe. But yeah, so when I opened up, COVID did not exist in my world because I was so busy doing intake packets and hiring and getting all authorizations transferred over. Like I was working 16, 17-hour days, 7 days a week.
When
The
autism
first year.
didn't take a break during COVID. So
Right.
grateful
Correct.
for people like you to be around.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes when you start a new business, it's hard. And if you do it during a downturn, so to speak, in COVID, where there were so many restrictions, you're like, well, I don't know any different because I'm just starting. So
Yeah.
I guess this is it. And
Yeah.
that's actually an advantage.
Yeah.
So that's
So
that's
it was
really neat.
great. I mean, I'm thankful that I was in a position that I had the experience as the director, knowing the background of DDD and knowing the system, focus that the state uses. And, I had some of that knowledge and was able to take it with me and then had to learn as I go. But
Well-
Ryan was a huge mentor.
Well, let's kind of back up a little bit. So now our podcast, we have a lot of national listeners and we also have a lot of state listeners.
Okay.
And I knew that today would be a little bit, we're going to have to, I hope everybody has a piece of paper and a pen. We're not sure if all states work like this, but we know Arizona works like this. So let's kind of dissect some verbiage real quick.
Okay.
So you mentioned something called DDD.
Yep. Division of Developmental Disabilities.
Okay. Now, is that an Arizona specific department or is that a federal department?
That is Arizona.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So
now,
not too many states offer these programs that we have here in Arizona. Arizona is one of the best states that offers these services. Texas does, but every state is run a little bit differently in how they do their onboarding, their application process, the services that they provide.
And these are services for special needs
Yes.
kiddos and also adults
Yes.
in some sense,
Yep.
right? So in this case and purpose, we're talking about DDD
Yep.
for our autistic kiddos or for special needs,
Yes.
and they have a process. And so tell us how in that window, how do they work?
For applying for services?
Yeah, so like let's before we apply for services, what is I know you don't work for DDD and
Yep.
I know you can't speak for them, but from what you understand, like what's their directions, what's their motivation, and how do they help Arizona
Okay,
families?
so if we have, and this happens quite a bit, if I have a family at my agency who has, let's say, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we see the documentation, we've read the reports, we'll ask them, hey, did you apply for DDD? And most of the time they're like, no, what is DDD? And we're like, DDD is, Division of Developmental Disabilities. There's another part of it called Altex, which is the Arizona Long-Term Care. These are the services that they provide. The respite, habilitation, attendant care, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. And these kids who are at my agency receiving speech and OT, they're having to pay their co-insurance up to their deductible. Like they're paying out of pocket when they could qualify for Altex, and it doesn't cost the parents anything. There is a process to be approved for it. You have to have one of the official diagnoses to be approved for DDD and to have Altex. So the qualifications are autism, Down syndrome, epilepsy, I think intellectual disability. What was the other one? Did I say Down syndrome already?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have to have a qualifying factor. And it has to be through a neurodevelopmental pediatrician. So once they get that evaluation with the official diagnosis, some other medical records, then they can do the application process. It's all online. Apply for it, and then they wait for a case manager from the state to give them a call to ask more questions, come to the house, do their own assessments, and see if they can go through with the qualification process. It's not based off of finances. I mean, we've got families who have a lot of money and their kids still qualify for access. That doesn't, they don't discriminate. It's
child.
Based off of the need of the child, based off of that evaluation, and based off of a specific diagnosis within the qualifying factors.
See, that's one. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Well, I just didn't know if there was a difference between DDD. So if I get into DDD, if I do that application, is there another one I have to do for Altec? Like how are they separate? Where's the one?
Yep. So they have like I call it the basic access plan. Those are the kids who don't have a qualifying diagnosis from a neurodevelopmental pediatrician. So they don't quite meet the criteria for Altex. There are some agencies who will take the kids on the basic, I call it basic access. I don't even know what the real term is for it. But the reimbursement rates are different. You aren't necessarily a qualified vendor with it. So I'm a qualified vendor with the state of Arizona providing for DDD and Altex. I don't take the kids on the access plan because it's not part of my contract.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to back the bus way up here for a second. We're going to back the hippie bus up just a little bit. I remember when our son first got a diagnosis, we got this acronym salad thrown at us, right? Oh, there's DDD, and there's Altex, and there's OT, and PT, and SP, and ABA. And like, okay, you offer HIJK and LMNOP. Like, it was all Chinese.
Yes.
So we defined what DDD is. How does Altex differentiate from DDD? And then I'm going to go into some of the specifics just so some of our newer parents know what's out there.
Right.
So I use the term Cadillac plan. This is just my coin term with the Altex.
I love it.
It is the cream of the crop. If you get approved for Altex, you get the respite, habilitation, attendant care. When your child turns 18, they get the group home if they need to be in there. There's transition to employment services. There's this whole list of services that are just at your fingertips by being approved for Altex.
And Altex stands for, if I'm correct, Arizona Long-Term Care, right?
System.
And so that would make sense why it's the Cadillac, because we're talking about the long-term
care.
Gotcha.
Yep. So it starts at the age of 3. So 0 to 36 months is AZIP, which is the Arizona Early Intervention Program. It's run completely different than 3 years up until, we've got adults in their 40s that come to the clinic for speech therapy that are on Altex. So there's no cap or age limit on it. Yes, most of them phase out at some point, but some still need a little bit of maintenance and, a little bit of work.
Sure.
So,
and it's nice to know that there is that flexibility for it.
So Altex starts at 36 months.
Okay. And so it gives you some of those more long-term facilitators that pass even beyond when they're 18 and into adulthood.
Yep.
Got it. And parents just have to know how to do this, or people are out there that can help with this process?
So if it's one of my parents at my agency that is either currently a cash pay or they're through private insurance, and we recognize that, you could potentially get these Altex services, we walk them through the application process. We can only help to a certain point. After that point, the case manager then will come in and kind of be the tour guide, I guess you can say, of, all right, you've been approved. If you want speech, here's what to do. If you want OT, here's what to do. The part at that point, the parents are like, well, where do I find these services? Support coordinators aren't really allowed to say, well, I love provider. Watch Me Grow, go to Watch Me Grow, or I love this company. They just say Google.
Right.
Google Pediatric Therapy Services.
And that's partly why we have this podcast, right? Is we're trying to connect parents more to what's out there, to educate them, to give them some direction and let them know the so what and the definition of these word salad acronyms.
Correct.
And then also like introduce to people that are in the business, what to watch for. So if we have parents that are looking for good providers, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later, like what are your tips and tricks of kind of helping with parents through that? Now, when you started Watch Me Grow, was there like a specific niche that you wanted to service, or like things that you were like was really important to you that you didn't see you didn't see other providers offer?
The niche would have been the therapy side of it, the speech and the OT. That's my world. That's what I practiced as an OT, and then when I was the director of therapies, that it was speech and OT. I put respite habilitation and attendant care on my contract, just kind of let's add it and see where it goes. And it became my largest department by word of mouth. Therapy side is still really good, but I had to learn about the respite habilitation and attendant care. It wasn't my world.
And we're so glad you've learned because, Rebecca, I think I can tell you I still don't fully understand them, and I know my son qualifies in 4. So we've talked on the program before about what is OT. There's lots of definitions, but we have a good grasp of that, right? We know what ABA is. We know what speech is.
And PT.
Yep, and physical, right. What are respite, hab, and attendant care?
Sure. So respite care, we like to say it's someone that we hire, or if you have a family member that you want to be your respite care provider, is a very highly qualified babysitter. Background checks, you've got to have a fingerprint clearance card, you have to go through the application process, you've got to have 3 references. Knowing that if it's not necessarily a family member, but we are going to bring somebody into your home to watch your kid while you go to a doctor's appointment, while you go to the grocery store, we want to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable that somebody is coming into your home to provide that service. So respite care, it basically relieves the parents to go do errands without having to take a kiddo who might be in a wheelchair. When it's 115 degrees outside and mom wants to go grocery shopping, that's kind of tough for her. So we have somebody to come into the house that just relieves the parent to be able to go do things without having to necessarily take a kiddo who might have a meltdown at the grocery store because the lights are too bright.
So that's cool. So, instead of just my friend's daughter down the street who has 0 qualification or training with special needs, you're saying the state actually supports these trained individuals that come in that have gone through these checks and give that child that care so the parent can still operate. That's awesome.
So that is the respite care. Habilitation, those are additional hours that the child is assessed for each week. And those are carry over goals of it could be occupational therapy, and it's also just like buttoning a shirt. It could be toileting. It could be safety within the community. There's different goals that now a parent provider can implement for their child, or an outside provider. We've got a lot of college girls who are in school to either be a speech or OT or RBT or whatever, and they just kind of want to get their foot in the door and work with kids with special needs. A lot of these college students will be habilitation providers and implement these goals each week for a kid.
And who gets to define those goals? Is that left to the parents themselves in collaboration?
No, that is through an assessment tool that the state of Arizona creates and provides for the support coordinators to assess during meetings with the family.
Got it. So then the difference in respite would be is that HAB is goal-driven with specific metrics they're working towards. Okay.
Respite is just show up, make sure the child is safe, and play with them while mom runs some errands.
Got it.
And then, So you have respite, habilitation, then what's the other ones?
And then the other one is attendant care.
Okay.
Attendant care, I always say, can be a couple of things. So attendant care is help with meal prepping, help with laundry. You have parents
Are they helping the parents or
they're helping the child learn how to do specific things. But it's also, you've got a parent who might be a nurse and works the night shift, or works the night shift but sleeps during the day. Let me see if I got that right. If a parent anyways, edit all of that. If a parent needs to sleep at night because they have a shift, we will have a provider come in overnight and stay with that kiddo. If they're like soil the bed, the attendant care provider will change the bedding, give the kid a bath if they need to, change the diaper if they need to. They're basically assisting with the parent and the kiddo, so the parent doesn't have to necessarily do it while she sleeps.
Okay, so, and forgive me if I try the layman's terms, but attendant care sounds like it's respite care, however, like to the next level. It's like you're caring for all the needs, not just watching them.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, and it could be more medically based as well. So, but not on the nursing side. That's a whole other.
And
animal.
all of this meant to relieve some of those burdens on parents.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I know that's a lot to navigate, so thank you. Because I honestly, prior to that,
I hope I explained it well.
I heard all three, and all I knew, honestly, over the last several years was it allows us some freedom and flexibility, but I didn't know how to parcel out each individually. So that's a lot more helpful.
Again, the respite care is just, let's relieve the families. So that way, they can go do what they need to do without having to always bring the kid with them. The habilitation and attendant care is goal-oriented. They do have to do progress reports every quarter. We have attendant care monitor supervision, so we talk to the family, how is it going? Like just making sure the child is safe, that everybody's on the same page.
And then attendant care is like assisted living. It's like a graduated skill. That's cool.
Yeah.
And of all these, where do you see the needs of most families? Is it more with the respite, habilitation, or is it like all over the board?
It's the need of the child. I mean, some kids, speech is the priority for that parent. They want that child to be able to speak to them. So that is their priority over, let me go get, to the grocery store without you, like the respite care. That might not be as important. Habilitation and attendant care, absolutely important, but maybe speech is more important to the parent. It just really depends on what is important to the parent. What do they want?
You know what's so great about it is, and we've touched on this in a number of podcasts now. A lot of parents have a fear sometimes around the diagnosis of autism. Mm-hmm. But I think if they really understood, like in these services, some of the freedoms and the burdens and those heavy life aspects that are lifted that come when you have these services as a result of a diagnosis, and it's more liberating than it is constricting.
And that's what I love talking to, if I see these parents in the clinic that don't know about these services, and when I tell them, hey, here's what the All-Tex plan offers, then they're like, I had no idea. It really is a weight off their shoulders knowing I've got support. Like it's going to be okay, because they do have that fear of the unknown.
Yeah. Well, they do. And we talk about the purpose of getting like an assessment, because it opens up all these doors and all these opportunities for now that you can service these children. And obviously this is a big, big, big one, that it opens up the DDD door.
Yeah.
So that's
or
the
doors.
Ds.
You know, that's a lot of
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of doors.
You have DDD doors, but then, you know, that way you can best help those kids. And now these, correct me if I'm wrong, so you said that with these services, they can go all the way till like the age of, you said you have 40 or?
Yeah, we have
is
40-year-olds.
Is there an age limit there, or how do they assess that when you get older? Or?
Well, each year, if you're receiving speech and OT, we have to do what's called a certified plan of care every year. So we look at the goals, see if they're still functional. Do we need to tweak some goals, or have we mastered all the goals? Or are we continuing to master goals? Because at that point, we probably just need to discharge you. But if we do an evaluation and we see, you know what, there's still a little bit of tweaking, we create a plan of care. It goes to the doctor. The doctor then reviews it, agrees with us, and then we'll sign off on it, and then state will authorize another year.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of reassessed every year.
I kind of like that check and balance. That's good.
They're reassessed every year. With attendant care and habilitation, they meet with their support coordinators every 90 days. So there could be changes within that time, and goals can be changing. They could be decreasing. I mean, it's every 90 days they're meeting with their support coordinator.
I almost feel like I need a support coordinator in my life. Can they meet with me every 90 days? So,
Brad,
check in with
you
you.
could always get tested and assessed.
I could. Maybe
I'll give you a referral.
You know what? I'll just complain to Nathan every day. So that'd be all right. So now kind of backing up a little bit, if I'm newer to autism as a parent, and I hear all these wonderful services with DDD. How do I know we talked about the application process, but what are some other qualifications that they need, or the process to get involved with the DDD program in the state of Arizona?
So the evaluation that I talked about from the neurodevelopmental pediatrician, obviously the application process. Once they get the official approval and they Google the agency that they want to...
So they get approval from the state.
They get approval from the state.
And then they have to then go find a provider.
They have to go and then find an agency that, if they want clinic-based, if it's close to their home, or if they want home-based. Honestly, families will probably call several agencies to see what is going to be the best fit. When they call Watch Me Grow, we typically ask, okay, what services are you needing? Let's check to see if we have somebody who is available to accommodate that day and time. Because some parents are like, I really only have Wednesdays are a half day. It's the best day for us to come to the clinic or for him to receive services. So I have between like 2 and 6 available. If I don't have that, we say we could put you on a wait list. You know, schedules are constantly changing. Or I have agency friends. I text them, hey, do you have a therapist available between 1 and 5 on a Wednesday? Yep, got it. I'm referring this parent over to you.
So
that's how my system works.
You work with a lot of different agencies.
Yes, yeah. Well, I have friends.
Because scheduling's a lot. That's challenging.
Yeah. So if we can't accommodate, I'm referring them out to, agencies that I know can accommodate them. So that way the mom's not having to Google and then make all these other random calls when I've got the owner on the phone saying, yep, I've got somebody, have her call me right now.
So in a way, because you've been in the business for such a long time, you kind of know the good agencies that you can refer out, that you trust.
I have a lot of good friends.
And
yes.
That's really neat. I love how you can kind of look at it from the parent's perspective.
There's no competition. That's how I look at it. We're here to help the kids, and if I can't help them, I will find somebody who can.
Cool. Now, one question. I heard you reference whether they go to a center or it's home-based. Is it more common for people to need a center to drop their kid off somewhere, or is it more common that providers come in the home? What's been your experience? So
if they go to the center, they can't just drop them off. DDD policy states they have to be there.
Okay.
It's either or. When I practiced OT, I would go into a kiddo's home and he knew the hiding spots. He'd go upstairs and hide in mom's closet. He would hide under the bed. And then I would say, hey, I think we need to put him in the clinic. He's just kind of a free-for-all here and our sessions are not functional. And we'd put him in the clinic and then it was great. But you've got clinic kids who, they were there at, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old and it was great for them. But now we're working on shaving. We're working on other things that do require the home. So it depends on the child's goals. And it depends on how well they do. If they do well at home, fantastic. If they need the clinic, fantastic. We can give more sensory input at the clinic because we've got the sensory gym. Yeah. And those are typically the kids that like to run and hide at mom's house. So
gotcha. So really, and listen, there's a theme you keep giving here, and I think it's the right one, and I think it's one that really we need to hammer home, and is that it depends on the needs of the kid.
it depends on the need. Yes.
Right. And that's something that I love is the consideration, so that it's not just we as a parent have to accommodate the needs of the clinic, but we hear providers saying, no, it's what the needs of your child are. And that's
Correct.
reassuring.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is.
Yep.
Well, and then what are some, if I was a parent looking for an agency, what questions should I be asking? Like, what would be, how do I know they can accommodate my child? And I know you brought up scheduling. Scheduling's a big issue.
Scheduling is the biggest one.
That's
Correct.
that's a huge thing. But then service and making sure that they're good with my child. Like in the BCBA world, we use the word pair. How do I pair with that?
Well, and the reason for the question, I think, Brad, is today there are so many options for services. I remember when my son was diagnosed, we didn't have as many options.
And you probably didn't have Google.
No, I'm not that old.
So now we just have AI.
That's true.
No, I mean, even ABA, like we thought it was this fabled unicorn. We could not find anybody that had any room anywhere. And so I love that there's options today. But to his point, what should we be asking to see if they are the right fit?
So let's say we have a therapist who can accommodate the schedule that mom is looking for. We then give the therapist the parent contact information. We say, hey, call and introduce yourself, talk to the parent, read the intake packet, do a meet and greet if you want to. Parent can sit in on the first session. I don't know if we've ever initially had a family be like, no, this isn't a good fit. I mean, my therapists are very good.
You have great therapists.
I do.
I mean,
I'm very, very lucky.
But if I'm a parent and I didn't get to know you first, and I had to go interview different agencies, like what questions would I ask? What would I be looking for?
Some parents want to know, how long have you been practicing? They might have a tougher kid that they want somebody who's more experienced. And the therapist, if it's a new therapist, she does not take offense to that. She's like, I get it. Some parents are like, you know what, if your supervisor or we're at the clinic, there's other girls here that, can help you. They're okay with that too. It really just depends on what is it that the parents are wanting for their kiddo. Some parents want to make sure that they are, sitting right next to the kiddo in every single session. That's okay. Some parents want to sit on the outside of the door where we have the view and window, and that's okay too. It's just, again, this is what works best for the kid and what works best for the parent, and the therapist just goes along with it.
Okay. Well, that's neat. So then how many, if we can, I know all of our listeners want to hear this a little bit. That's okay. We talked about this before.
Yeah,
I know you're going to be ready. DDD has kind of gone through some changes right now.
Going through some changes, yes.
This is going to air in October, this is November of 2025. So whenever you listen to this podcast, it's going to be different probably.
Yes.
In October of 2025, DDD went through some changes.
Yes.
A lot of families are kind of freaked out. Some are excited, some are not. What should families from your understanding, what should families expect with some of the changes with DDD? What are kind of the bigger changes, and what are how does that affect our
So you're
families?
referencing the new HNT assessment tool, which is used for habilitation and attendant care. So those hours that I said they're assessed for, and they're provided each week to give to their provider or parent provider. So October 1st, Access came out with a new assessment tool that relegated the services based off of the child's age and no longer off of the child's medical necessity. It became an uproar with the community because there are kids who are medically fragile who needs more than what the state was going to allot them per week. I was telling Nathan earlier, example is between the ages of 3 to 5, the maximum amount of hours per week, I believe, is 5 hours. It might be 7. I wish I had that number.
Well, but it might fluctuate.
So we'll just go 5. We'll just say 5 hours.
It definitely reduced from what it was before.
There currently, you could have a 5-year-old who has 20, 30 hours of habilitation and attendant care a week. That's now getting reduced to 5 hours. If it's a very medically fragile child, that is going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's no longer, it's now based off of the age instead of the medical necessity of the child. So about 2 weeks into that program, the state came in and said, pause, because the Attorney General got involved and said, hey, we need to have some sort of clause in here that states if these kids who are very medically fragile, they should be able to be assessed for more. So they paused the program. They're revamping the H&T tool. It will be out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we're going to go back to now every member will be assessed. Originally, it was by December 31st. Every single member had to be reassessed by December 31st. I don't know if they're going to push it out now since there was a month delay. But now the kid, if the parents are requesting more, they have to have a doctor's note and a letter of medical necessity as to why this child would get more hours than what the state is requiring based off of age.
Gotcha. So it sounds like before they kind of had an open policy in a way. Say, hey, you can get these.
It was based off of an assessment tool, but it was just kind of, this kiddo can have 40 hours, this kiddo can have 30, and the support coordinators were doing it based off of assessment. But we see it in the industry. There's kids who would have 40 hours who didn't need 40 hours. And this is my agency. I've got a young adult who's in a wheelchair on a G-tube, had 9 hours a week. Why do you only have 9? You need way more than 9. But it's based off of like support coordinators and their experience, and it's not a hard tool like this new tool is going to be. A hard tool plus a note from the doctor, a letter, will give a little bit more leeway.
So you mentioned, Arizona is a very friendly place for autism services. And if I'm hearing you correctly, it's not that Arizona is no longer a friendly state. It's that we're trying to get it right?
We're trying to get it under control because prior to 2020, parent provider was not even a term that we used unless they were over 18. Over 18 is a different
And I don't think
animal.
we've defined parent provider yet, have we, Brad? We've talked about it.
We've talked a lot about it.
Let's
write this
explain
stuff down. Here's
what is a
another
parent
definition.
provider.
Sure. When COVID hit, the state and parents didn't want a revolving door of providers coming in and out of the house. We were obviously trying to keep the children safe. And again, you've got very medical fragile children who can't
Our most vulnerable community.
that can't have even the grandparents come to the home. It really had to have been like just mom and dad or an older sibling in the home. So the state said, you know what, let's go ahead and allow for parents to provide the services to the kids because they're still going to get the services. There's not going to be a gap in services. The kid's not going to regress. So parents started providing the services. And
when you say services, parents are becoming OTs and speech pathologists?
Oh, I'm sorry. Habilitation and attendant care.
Got it.
Good question. Good question. No, you have to be licensed to be the other ones.
Just making sure.
So to provide habilitation and attendant care. Well, the state realized this is working. This is actually working for the kids. We're seeing that the kids are actually improving. This is a great program. They made it permanent April of 2024. So between March of 2020 till April of 2024, it was just a temporary thing, but then they made it permanent, and the budget did not accommodate for the amount of parents that would join in on this and apply for agencies to become a parent provider for their child. So now we're in 2025, and I mean, I had the numbers for the budget. I don't remember what, it's millions negative. So the state is now trying to come in and just control to make sure that this program stays alive and doesn't go bankrupt over the next few years. Because at this rate, with the amount of parent providers who are providing services, which is fantastic because, again, it does work for the kids, we just don't have the funds. The state doesn't have the funds to support the amount of parent providers and hours that are being used. So the state they're trying to, slow it down. to make sure it stays afloat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's anything reassuring in it, change is always scary, right?
Right.
But it sounds like, they implemented a program. Within a few weeks, they already agreed to make some changes. So it sounds like they're willing to pivot. Hopefully that trend continues so we get to that right place.
Yes.
But at least we can be assured they're trying to make it right for sustainability purposes. Because the last thing we want is to reap these benefits and then have them just disappear.
Absolutely. Right. And that is the key to this assessment tool, is to make sure this program is sustainable and that it is here forever for the long-term care, hence long-term care.
Sure.
Well, again, we've heard a lot of parents, there's a loud voice out there concerned about DDD. What's moving on? Everybody thinks it's going to go away. Some people are kind of freaking out. That's why I'm glad that you're here to kind of shine some light. Like, well, yeah, they're just kind of cutting back just a little bit, reassessing. But for the most vulnerable kiddos in our society, we can still provide those type of services in a way.
Absolutely, still provide it. And we even, get an extra hour of speech, get an extra hour of OT. Right now, most kids are approved for 1 hour. Let's get you additional services elsewhere outside of that habilitation and attendant care bucket, especially since habilitation is also kind of, I call it the cousin of OT. Let's get you additional OT hours.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So if you're in DDD and your hours get cut, what is the best option for parents to do if their hours are cut? And it sounds like you're just kind of answering that. You can pivot just a little bit.
They can in that aspect, but if parents don't agree with the decision from the support coordinator, they could file an appeal. They do have 30 days to file an appeal and get another evaluation, or have whoever the appeal department is with access to take a look at it. And they might get those additional hours with that appeal. It just depends.
Just depends on that situation. But it's nice that it is kind of moving around, trying to be, like you said, more efficient. So we have these services for for decades to come.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of why we're doing it. So
really, it's kind of like, Arizona is unique in a lot of sense. They pioneer a lot of policies. They were the first to have ESA, and now it's starting to travel nationwide. We want to get it right. We don't want to just impact kids in Arizona. We want kids across the country to have services. And if we can't provide a sustainable system, how are they going to follow us and lead forward? So I see this as the pains of growing. And it's, like when we started Polaris, our business plan seemed to change every 2 weeks, and so
100%. Yes.
You probably experienced it with your
Absolutely.
agency, and so flexibility. And I think we've said this on another podcast, the autism community, I think sometimes there's a little bit too much rigidity in how we approach them, where really what they need is resilience and flexibility. And so if we can reassure our listeners with anything, it's that, Arizona is not all of a sudden becoming anti-autism. If anything, we're trying to make sure we build a system that's sustainable, that has longevity, right? That will work for years to come.
Well, and that kind of leads me on, and since you're kind of like since you're in the field, you see what parents are going through and what the state's doing. If you could wave a magic wand, what could DDD do better that you would see that you're like, oh, you know what? It'd be really neat if they could do this. That's reasonable.
Are you referring to the changes or in the application process?
Just the process in general. Like, do they need to offer, is habilitation just they should do more of that, or I wish they would communicate better with parents on changes, or maybe have some more resources for them, or is there something there that they might be missing that they could do better with our Arizona families?
What I know from all the mom groups and just from my parent providers, there's a lot of good Facebook groups that are wonderful resources. Brandy Coons, I don't know if you know who she is. She is one of the best advocates for families with parent providers and kids with special needs. She's on the forefront of a lot of this legislative stuff and trying to make policy changes better. She works really well with DDD and trying to make things right. From an agency standpoint, we get sent the policies and we just do our best to accommodate. This one, the assessment tool, we had 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get on board with it. and to change things in our EMR. And, we were working long hours during this time.
I can tell. Well, it sounds like you guys should have a great business. What's the future of Watch Me Grow? What are you guys looking for? Where are you going to take your agency next, or what trends are you seeing?
So, well, that's funny you asked, because I actually just got the suite next door. So I'm expanding.
Congratulations.
It's another full sensory gym, 2 more bathrooms, 4 or 5 more treatment rooms. So it's just to grow. It's to grow, obviously, with speech and OT, so we can accommodate these calls that are coming in. I mean, my OT is on a wait list right now. So all my OTs are full. I refer out, but some families are like, nope, we want to be at your clinic. We want to stay with you. So we'll wait till you hire. And parent providers, we love helping the families. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about helping families, helping the kids, and just making sure everybody feels valued and has a safe place to go, and, just a great place to be.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, that's amazing, Rebecca. Well, we're so grateful that you're here. We're grateful for all of your wonderful insights. Anything you'd like to share with our Arizona families or our families before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think we answered everything.
I think we have.
Yeah, I want to give you some props for addressing what's kind of a heavy issue. I mean, the tone with change is always one of kind of somberness, right? And it's encouraging to hear that there's good people working towards it. We have good policy that they're working towards. And one of our last guests, we asked them, what was the thing that autism has taught the most, and it's patience. And,
yes.
And I think that would be the same advice I'd give here, is just patience and some grace in the process.
Absolutely. And again, this is a new assessment tool. It's never been done in this industry before, to base it off of age and hours. It may not work in 6 months to a year. They might revert back to how it was. It's, again, being patient. See what the next policy change is. There's probably going to be one.
Well,
awesome.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Rebecca, so
You're
much
welcome.
for being here. Thank you, everyone, for making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation that inspires connection. And we also want to give a big shout out to our producer, Jesse Palmer, and our marketing director, Dallin Davis. Until next time, let's go do some good.